For our devotional thought today, I want us to come back to the book of Ezra. Now, Ezra, Haggai, Nehemiah, they all kind of flow together. And really, you got to put Malachi in there also, because Malachi was written kind of in between that time between Nehemiah's first and second trip to Jerusalem. So you've got these books that really kind of flow well together. They're understood as a unit. But what I want us to see today is a little truth called the gracious hand of God. Now, in Ezra chapter 7, verse 10, it said, this was because. Now, what is this? This, go back to verse 9, talks about the gracious hand of God that was upon Ezra. He said, for the gracious hand of God was on him. Why was the gracious hand of God upon Ezra? This was because Ezra had determined to study and obey the law of the Lord and to teach those decrees and regulations to the people of Israel. So Ezra chose to study the word, to live the word, and to teach the word. That's what he dedicated his life to. He was determined to study, live, and teach the word. And because he was determined to study, live, and teach the word, the gracious hand of God was upon him. Now, for young pastors, please, if you're getting your sermons off of Google, Google is not God. If you're getting your sermons off of Sermon Central, if you're copying your sermons out there, I'm sorry, you're not a student. You're going to find that there's a thing that brings the gracious hand of God upon your life. And that's a heart to study, to live, and to teach the word. Now, this gracious hand of God that was upon Ezra accomplished a few things. First of all, it brought great wealth and prosperity to the work of God. Back up to verse 6. This Ezra was a scribe who was well versed in the law of Moses, which the Lord, the God of Israel, had given to the people of Israel. He came up to Jerusalem from Babylon, and the king gave him everything he asked for, because the gracious hand of the Lord was upon him. Now, when you start going through all the things that the king gave him, he brought back gazillions worth of gold and silver and things back to the land of Israel to rebuild the temple of God. Now, where did all that wealth come from? Because the gracious hand of God was upon him. Now, young pastors, you don't need to be looking for, how can I gather a bunch of rich people together in my church so I can do something? You need to study, live, and preach the word. And if you'll study, live, and preach the word, all the abundance that is necessary to do what God wants to be done, it will be there. The gracious hand of God will bring wealth to the work of God. Let me say that again. The gracious hand of God upon a man of God will bring wealth to the work of God, not to enrich the preacher's life, but to the work of God. Now, it'll bring, secondly, success, verse 8 and 9. Ezra arrived in Jerusalem in August of that year, and he arranged to leave Babylon on April 8, the first day of the new year, and he arrived in Jerusalem on August 4, for the gracious hand of God was upon him. So he accomplished moving this great wealth and a large crowd of people from the captivity back to the land of Israel, to the city of Jerusalem. Now, he did that. He accomplished that incredible goal because the gracious hand of God was upon him. And then the workers and leaders that were needed. Ezra 8, verse 18. Since the gracious hand of our God was on us, they sent us a man named Sarabiah, along with 18 of his sons and brothers. And he was a very astute man and a descendant of Malhi, and was a descendant of Levi, the son of Israel. So the leaders that are necessary come because the gracious hand of God is upon you. All right, so great wealth and prosperity comes to the work of God because of God's gracious hand upon a man of God. God brings success in a journey to come and do the work of God because God's gracious hand is on a man of God. God brings leaders to help because God's gracious hand is on a man of God. And God brings safety. Ezra chapter 8, verse 31. We broke camp at the Ahava Canal on April 19 and started off to Jerusalem. And the gracious hand of our God protected us and saved us from our enemies and bandits along the way. Now, all of that came because of the gracious hand of God upon a man of God. And why was that gracious hand of God upon that man of God? Because he wanted to study, live, and teach the Word of God. Now, forgive me, that's about as simple as it gets to learn success in the ministry.